Well, folks, here we are again, staring down the barrel of another presidential election. Remember the good old days when elections were just about picking between slightly different flavors of the same political ice cream? Peppermint, spearmint? It barely mattered, you were still getting minty freshness. Those days feel as quaint as a Norman Rockwell painting now. These days, elections are less about minty freshness and more like choosing between a dumpster fire and a raging inferno. And the worst part? No matter who wins, there's a good chance someone's going to get burned. That's right, we're talking about the very real possibility of civil unrest. Let's be honest, America. We've got a bit of a history with this whole civil unrest thing. It's almost like it's woven into the very fabric of our nation. From the earliest days of our country's formation, we've seen people take to the streets to make their voices heard. From the Boston Tea Party, where colonists dumped tea into the Boston Harbor to protest British taxation, to the LA riots, sparked by the acquittal of police officers and the beating of Rodney King, we've shown a certain enthusiasm for expressing our displeasure. These events, while separated by centuries, share a common thread of people feeling pushed to the brink. And with the political climate hotter than a chili cook-off in Death Valley, 2024 has all the ingredients for a full-blown meltdown. The polarization is palpable, and it seems like every issue, big or small, has the potential to ignite a firestorm of controversy. Don't get me wrong, I'm all for passionate debate and standing up for what you believe in. It's one of the cornerstones of a healthy democracy. Peaceful protests and demonstrations are vital ways for citizens to express their views and push for change. But when disagreements devolve into burning buildings and smashed windows, everyone loses. The destruction not only undermines the message but also causes harm to communities and individuals who may have had nothing to do with the initial conflict. So how do we navigate this potential powder keg without getting singed? It's a question that requires careful consideration and proactive measures. Communities need to be prepared, not just for the possibility of unrest, but for the underlying issues that lead to such tensions in the first place. Well, that's what we're here to talk about. It's about finding ways to channel that passion and energy into constructive dialogue and action. It's about building bridges instead of burning them and finding common ground even when it seems like none exists. Buckle up, Buttercup. It's going to be a bumpy ride. But with a little bit of effort, understanding, and a whole lot of patience, we just might make it through to the other side, stronger and more united than ever before. Let's face it. The last few elections have felt less like democratic exercises and more like cage matches between gladiators. The political arena has become a battleground where every move is scrutinized, every word dissected, and every candidate is either a hero or a villain, depending on who you ask. Social media has become a breeding ground for misinformation and outrage. Algorithms designed to keep us engaged often end up amplifying the most divisive content, creating echo chambers where only like-minded opinions are heard. This digital landscape fuels anger and misunderstanding, making it harder for people to find common ground. Political polarization has reached record highs. The gap between different political ideologies has widened to the point where compromise seems almost impossible. This division is not just in Congress, but extends to our communities, workplaces, and even families, creating an environment ripe for conflict. And trust in institutions, well, let's just say it's taking a long nap in the basement. Public confidence in government, media, and even science has eroded significantly. This lack of trust undermines the very foundation of our society, making it difficult to address pressing issues effectively. So yeah, tensions are high. Everywhere you look, there's a sense of unease. People are on edge, quick to anger and slow to listen. This pervasive tension can easily escalate into more significant conflicts if not addressed. Add in a potential recession, ongoing social justice movements, and a dash of climate change anxiety, and you've got a recipe for unrest that would make Betty Crocker nervous. Economic instability can lead to job losses and financial stress, while social justice movements highlight deep-seated inequalities that demand urgent attention. Climate change, with its unpredictable and often devastating impacts, adds another layer of uncertainty to an already volatile mix. But before you start building your underground bunker, let's talk about some practical steps you can take to prepare for any potential turbulence. Being informed and staying connected with your community can make a significant difference. Consider creating an emergency plan with your family, stocking up on essential supplies, and staying updated on local news and alerts. By taking these proactive steps, you can navigate the challenges ahead with a bit more confidence and resilience. Remember the great toilet paper shortage of 2020? It was a time of panic and uncertainty, where people scrambled to stock up on essentials, fearing the unknown. Shelves were emptied in a matter of hours, and the sight of empty aisles became all too familiar. Yeah, let's try to avoid a repeat of that, shall we? We can learn from the past and be better prepared for the future. It's not just about hoarding supplies, but about being smart and considerate. But this time, we're talking about more than just two-ply and hand sanitizer. The pandemic taught us the importance of being ready for anything, and that means thinking beyond the immediate crisis. We're talking about being prepared for a range of scenarios, from short-term disruptions to more prolonged emergencies. Think non-perishable food, items that can sustain you and your family for days, even weeks if necessary. Water is crucial, as is having first aid supplies on hand. Flashlights and batteries can be lifesavers during power outages, and a hand-crank weather radio can keep you informed when other communication methods fail. These are the basics, but they can make a world of difference. It's not about being paranoid, it's about being practical. Preparing an emergency kit can be a family activity, a way to ensure everyone knows what to do and where to find things when needed. It's about peace of mind and readiness. After all, it's better to have a can of beans and not need it than to need a can of beans and be forced to fight a raccoon for the last one at the grocery store. Humor aside, having a well-stocked pantry can save you from unnecessary stress and chaos. Trust me, those raccoons are ruthless. They may look cute, but when it comes to survival, they don't mess around. So, take a page from their book and be prepared. It's a small effort that can make a big difference in times of need. Mapping the mayhem, knowing where not to be. Look, I'm not saying you need to become a doomsday prepper with a basement full of freeze-dried food and a map of all the local escape tunnels, though if you are, can I get your number? Asking for a friend. But it's not a bad idea to have a general awareness of potential hotspots in your area. Government buildings, media headquarters, major intersections, these are all places that could attract large crowds and potentially trouble. Knowing alternate routes, avoiding large gatherings, and staying informed about local events can help you steer clear of any potential chaos. Home Sweet Bunker. Fortifying your castle. No, you don't need to install barbed wire fences and a moat, though again, no judgment. But there are some basic steps you can take to make your home a safe haven in case things get hairy. Make sure your doors and windows are secure, have a plan for communication if the power goes out, and maybe consider investing in a really good book. Look, sometimes the safest place to be is simply at home, with your loved ones, riding out the storm. And hey, if you happen to have a fully stocked pantry and a generator, well, that's just good planning. On the road? Think twice, pack thrice. Planning a cross-country road trip to escape the election madness? Well, hold your horses, or, your Subaru. While traveling can be a great way to de-stress, it's important to be extra vigilant during times of potential unrest. Stay informed about the situation in your destination city. Avoid traveling through areas experiencing protests or unrest, and make sure your car is in tip-top shape, with a full tank of gas and emergency supplies. Remember, folks, there's nothing more stressful than being stranded on the side of the road in the middle of a national crisis. Filtering the noise, finding trustworthy news. In the age of social media, misinformation spreads faster than a Kardashian wedding announcement. And during times of heightened tension, it's more important than ever to be discerning about the information you consume. Stick to reputable news sources. Fact-check everything. Be wary of sensationalized headlines and emotionally charged language. Remember, critical thinking is your best defense against the virus of misinformation. Mental first aid. Because anxiety is contagious too. Look, it's okay to feel anxious or stressed about the possibility of civil unrest. These are uncertain times, and it's natural to feel overwhelmed. But don't let fear paralyze you. Take breaks from the news. Engage in self-care activities and connect with loved ones. Remember, you're not alone. We're all in this together, and taking care of our mental health is just as important as prepping our emergency kits. Community, not chaos. We're all in this mess together. Here's the thing about America. We may be a nation divided on many issues, but at our core, we're still a community, and when things get tough, Communities come together. So check on your neighbors, support local businesses, and be kind to one another. Remember, a little bit of empathy and compassion can go a long way in diffusing tension and fostering a sense of unity. After all, we're all just trying to navigate this crazy thing called life together. In conclusion, be smart, be safe, be kind, and maybe stock up on snacks. So there you have it, folks, a not-so-subtle guide to navigating the potential choppy waters of the 2024 elections. Now, I'm not saying you need to build a bunker and start hoarding gasoline, but a little bit of preparedness never hurt anyone. Be informed, be prepared, and most importantly, be kind to one another. And hey, if all else fails, at least you'll have a well-stocked pantry and a good book to keep you company. Stay safe out there, America.